Hello, welcome to the Effective Online Communication Workshop. My name is Sydney Jakes, and I'm one of the counselors within the counseling department. Today, I want to spend some time breaking down some helpful strategies that you can utilize if you are in one online course or several online courses. You can hopefully use some of these tips and tricks to best navigate a online synchronous or online asynchronous course that you may be in this semester. So let's get to it. Firstly, let's break down the agenda. So we will go into various modes of communication, ways in which you can embody professionalism, and then some of those strategies that I mentioned a bit earlier that you can actually implement when trying to engage with your instructor. So first, let's break down what communication or effective online communication is. So there are several different modes of communication. One of the first tips that I will give you is to review your course syllabus. You should be doing this throughout the entire semester, right? This isn't something that you just do the first day of classes and you never revisit your syllabus again for the semester. You should be regularly reviewing your course syllabus. Typically, within your course syllabus, your professor would include some sort of preferred mode of communication. Some instructors require students to email them directly through Microsoft Outlook. Some instructors would prefer that students reach out to them through Canvas inbox message. Others would prefer phone call or even a text message. So that's one of the first things that you want to do. Review the course syllabus and be able to identify the best or the preferred mode of communication that your instructor has. Be mindful of what that communication style is for your instructor and use that to your advantage, right? So once you've identified what their preferred mode of communication is, then you can always lean on that, especially when you have a question, a concern. You know, okay, you know what? My instructor responds quickest when I email them via Microsoft Outlook. So I'm always going to make sure that I reach out to them this way. Right? Does that make sense? So just keep that as a little tip in your little toolkit when you are navigating communication with your instructor. Another tip, manage your expectations. Now, Sydney, what do you mean by that? What does that mean? Well, a lot of times, especially if it feels like an urgent matter, maybe you're stuck on a homework assignment or a specific practice problem or something like that, you're wondering, okay, I need to reach out to the instructor right now and I need an immediate response, especially in the world we live in right now with instant gratification. We post something, we want to like immediately, we want a response immediately. Well, your instructor more than likely is teaching several sections of the course and maybe several courses. So it may take them a little bit of time to respond back to you. This is something that's also potentially listed within your syllabus. Your syllabus may indicate how long it would take your instructor to respond back to you. They may say, please allow for 24 to 48 hours for me to get back to you. Maybe they say 1 business day. Maybe they tell you that they will only respond to you Monday through Thursday. They don't respond back to students over the weekend. So if you have an assignment that's due on a Saturday night or a Sunday night, they may not respond back until Monday, right? So those are things you want to be aware of. Maybe they encourage students to attend office hours. You should be checking your syllabus to double check to see when your instructor offers office hours. Now, if they don't indicate specific days and times in which they offer office hours, maybe they indicate that you can schedule an appointment with them to attend office hours. So those are some things that you want to keep in mind when you are trying to effectively communicate with your instructor through an online medium. As I mentioned before, don't expect an immediate response. Hopefully they do get back to you soon, but some way to kind of reframe that or change that mindset is planning ahead so that you avoid reaching out at the very last minute, especially if it is urgent and you really do need a response from the instructor. Okay? So now we've been going through a few strategies, but here are a few more. Okay, being professional. When you're drafting an email to your instructor, especially in an online asynchronous format where you aren't getting the opportunity to speak with the instructor face to face in person or on Zoom, the only way in which you can reach out to the instructor is through some sort of messaging, right? You want to make sure the quality of that message is high quality. You want to ensure that you are using proper email etiquette when engaging with your instructor. So, for instance, if you really want to get an immediate response, include your name and J number in the email. Use formal language. No memes or emojis should be included in the email. Use some form of a greeting. Hello, Dr. such and such, or Dear Professor blank. And then include some sort of email signature. You can also go into your Microsoft Outlook settings and be able to create an email signature that is automatically included in every single one of your emails. Sometimes that helps just to ensure that you are never forgetting to include an email signature. So that's another helpful tip there. Make your email or message clear and concise. And try not to have any sort of grammatical errors. Now we live in the world of Grammarly and ChatGPT and just AI in general. You can always draft out your email, copy and paste it into one of those AI apps, ask it to proofread it, clean up any grammatical errors, and then once it does that, you can copy that new formalized version and paste that and send that off to your instructor. So you want to send a high quality message to your instructor, okay? That also helps to ensure that it decreases the amount of back and forth between you and the instructor, making sure it's clear, making sure it's very straightforward, making sure you've been professional through it all so that they can give you a quick and speedy response. Now, additionally, you can also be professional, let's say after you've messaged your instructor, maybe you were even requesting to meet with your instructor. How can you embody professionalism during an actual meeting with your instructor? Well, some helpful tips: write down questions ahead of time, right? So prepare yourself for that meeting, because typically your instructor will come into that meeting and give you the floor, right? Hey, such and such, what is it that you need help with today? And what are you going to say in that situation? So be prepared for that exchange, for that level of communication with your instructor. So write down some questions ahead of time. What are some things that you're concerned about? What are some things that don't make sense to you, that you don't understand? Provide examples, things like that. Have needed materials in front of you. So again, you could have your questions in front of you. Maybe it's a math course and there are specific practice problems that you don't quite understand. If this is a meeting on Zoom and maybe there's a digital copy of some of those materials, you can share your screen on the Zoom, and that way you and your instructor can look at it together. That's a very helpful strategy just to ensure that there's no confusion and your instructor understands fully, and so therefore they can explain it to you to the best of their ability so that you best understand as well. Because again, this is a class that you are in and you want to be successful in. So how can you make it as easy for your instructor to inform you or to explain things so that you understand to the best of your ability and can then be as successful as possible within the course? Additionally, When it comes to professionalism, you want to make sure that you're in a noise-free environment. Minimize the distractions, right? Noises, your phone potentially ringing. Just put yourself in a space where you can solely focus, and and your instructor knows that you're focused. Be ready to take notes and be on time for the meeting. So those are all helpful tips to embody professionalism when meeting with your instructor and or sending a high quality message to your instructor. Now, here are some to kind of continue on with what I was saying about meeting versus, that professionalism aspect, but also when it comes to a way in which you could draft an email or a message to an instructor to request a meeting. And then on the other side here, we have a breakdown or an example of what a message could look like if you want to request feedback for an assignment or a project or something like that that you have already completed and submitted, and you want to kind of go over it a little bit more. You're not fully understanding why you received the grade that you did. You want to be able to break that down a little bit more because you want to understand why you're performing or you're being assessed the way that you are based on your performance. And is that ultimately going to lead to you successfully passing the course, or is that in jeopardy? That's where that effective communication comes in most importantly. So meeting, how to request a meeting with your instructor. Now, this is just one example. This is not the only way. This is not a one size fits all. But as I was mentioning, email etiquette and a high quality message go a long way. And so I wanted to at least show you an example of what a potential message could look like to your instructor when you want to request a meeting. So we have a greeting here, dear professor. This student went ahead and introduced themselves and also included their J number, right? So, dear professor, my name is Janet Jameson. They included the J number, and I'm in your FNMT 118 course, section 011. After receiving my grade for exam 1, I'm getting concerned with my overall performance in the course. I'm willing to work hard and pass the course, but I think I will need more support in order to succeed. I would really appreciate it if we could schedule the meeting to go over the exam, as well as other strategies that could help me be successful in your course. Please let me know when you are available. Looking forward to hearing back from you. All the best, Janet Jameson. So you see in this example, it had the greeting, it had name, J number. It clearly and concisely broke down what the student's concern was, how important it is to them to be successful in the course. They're requesting a meeting specifically, and then also including not only an ask on when the instructor is available, but a signature at the end. Okay, so that is one example of how you can request a meeting with the instructor. Now, over on the right-hand side here, we have feedback, how to request feedback from your instructor. So in this example, we start off again, dear professor, my name is John Johnson. They include the J number, and I am in your English 101 course, section 012. I am reaching out to inquire about my grade on discussion board number 7. I received a 78% on the post, but didn't see any feedback from you. If possible, could you provide additional feedback so that I have a better understanding of my grade? I can also meet via Zoom. Looking forward to hearing from you. All the best, John Johnson. So in this instance, this is something very isolated to a specific assignment. And it appears that the instructor did not provide any additional feedback to the student for the student to understand why they got the grade they received. That happens all the time. And that is definitely one example or an opportunity that you as a student could take advantage of to better understand why you received the grade that you did. You don't just have to settle for a grade that you received, especially if you know that you put a lot of time and effort and energy into that assignment. You should feel comfortable being able to ask your instructor why you received that grade, because you know that you put X amount of effort into it and the grade just doesn't seem to match up with that level of effort. You have every right to do that as the student. And I want to encourage you as a student going through college to continue to challenge yourself to be more of an advocate for yourself so that you don't just accept grades that don't make sense or don't make you feel good, that you really, really make sure that you continue to have that open line of communication with your instructor, especially in an online format where you may not be getting that consistent engagement face to face, so that you better understand your grades in the course and ultimately you are better informed on whether or not you're being successful in the course, whether you need more tutoring, you need more support. You're doing all these things to help you ultimately at the end of the semester pass the class, right? So now any questions that you may have. Now I know that we're in an online format here. I know this was a bit of a quick workshop, but you can always reach out to me directly. You can reach out to the counseling department. I put this QR code here. It actually will direct you straight to my Linktree. So if you ever wanted to schedule an appointment and be able to discuss a bit more, we could do that. But always keep in mind how important effective communication is, especially in an online class. You want to consistently be in touch with your instructor because that connection is what keeps us engaged in the class. Okay? And ultimately, if we're engaged in the class, if we're interested, if we're invested, then typically that means that there's a better chance of us actually successfully passing the course at the end. So just some helpful tips, tricks, strategies that you can implement when you're in your courses. Again, you can reach out to me. I have my email address, my phone number. I also have the counseling department's email address and my Linktree. So please feel free to reach out. We are always available. And if you happen to catch us at a time when maybe, we haven't gotten back to you immediately, you can always stop by the office and someone will be sure to help you as best they can. Okay. Thank you so much for attending, for viewing. Feel free to review again and share with a friend. Thank you so much.